I'm going to read a brief statement about the guidelines for public input. Thank you, Jerry. The ISD 318 school board shall provide a specific period of time where persons may address the school board on any topic subject to the limitations of policy 206. All individual comments shall be less than 5 minutes. Any group of 5 or more persons must appoint one person to present the group's view to the board. Depending on the number of persons present, the school board chair reserves the right to set further time limits to allow participation within the allocated time. School board shall not allow negative comments in public session about individual employees or students. Specific factual information or recitation of existing policy may be furnished in response to inquiries, but the board shall not deliberate or decide regarding any issue that's not included on the agenda posted with the notes of the meeting. If there are more requests than time available, priority will be given to persons that reside within the Grand Rapids Big Fork School District. And it looks like we have one public input, Gary Johnson. The mic's up there. Do you want to use the mic?
No problem. My name is Gary Johnson. I would like to thank you for your time. A little nervous, but that's okay. I am a truck driver. I'm normally not around. I'm on injured reserve. I've been off for a few months. Needless to say, in that time, I have been awakened to the practices of the schooling system in Grand Rapids. Some good, some bad, some ugly. My main concerns right now are the distribution of the technology, as in the iPads. My son goes to Robert J. Elkington Middle School. We've been trying to figure out this iPad situation since probably about a month or so. And where I've been running into an issue is there's no support. I have come to find out that my son, how do I say this? He was having an issue with his iPad. He gives it to me. I log out of the system. And he's like, Dad, I don't know how to get back into the system. It's done at school. I'm like, okay, whatever. So in the meantime, assignments get late, things happen, so he ends up behind. I go to the school on a Tuesday morning, and I'm prepared to sit there all day long until we can figure this out. It don't matter to me. My son's important. Me, that's important. His education is important. Okay? I go there, and all I need to know is how to log in to the iPad. I get told by a superior that they don't mess with the iPad. There's 2 people in that school for 900 students. Nobody can tell me how to log into the system? Makes no sense to me. I drive truck for a living. I have an iPad in my truck. Well, iPad technology. For me, when I drive, if I get pulled over by the DOT, I have a booklet that I need to have to navigate me through their computer system. I have nothing. I have 0. I got dismissed that day. I got told basically to leave because it was too important for them to go to a meeting than to sit down and say, hey, I can help you. Where's the help? Why can't the teachers, why can't the faculty have an idea how to just log into the system? It's not right. My son comes home on a Friday and something happens to the technology. I can't print out paperwork. I can't do homework. If something happens, who do you call? Nobody. There's nothing. So I sit here and I'm like, this is wrong. We're failing the kids. Completely failing the kids. I understand technology is great. When technology is great, it works. When it doesn't work, it sucks. And you sit here and you're like, I can't help. I'm a dad who can't help. It's painful because I want help. I want to fix the problem. I don't want to hinder the problem. And when I go there and I get dismissed, I'm going, this makes no sense. I'm here to help. I'm not here to yell at anybody. I'm not going to yell at anybody here. I don't understand. When you have two people and one knows one thing and one knows another. When I ask about assignments, the guy goes, I can get you logged in, but the other person has to help you with the assignment stuff. Why? Or why can't we have a workshop for the parents to come in and say, for a day, and say, you want to know what? Here's your login information on a piece of paper. It's simple tasks. I have to do it as a truck driver of federal guidelines. I have to do that. Why can't the school be any different? There should be something in writing that says, here's your login information. If there's a problem, you can print off the information. But right now, the iPad goes down, we're messed up. I can't do anything. I can't fix it. If it happens on a Friday, if he's got 5 assignments, what happens? Nothing. He's behind. He goes to Monday, gets another 5 assignments, he's 10 pages behind. I have a 12-year-old. Try to figure that out. I don't understand the math he does because I'm old school. I write things down on a piece of paper. All I'm asking is there's got to be some accountability. I'm going to conferences tomorrow. I will be addressing some of these issues. But all I was told was come here and address. All I'm asking for is for some people to say, hey, we can help. I know my son's not the only one. Talk to other people, talk to other parents. This is a problem. I understand money's tight. It's tight in our household. Milk's $3.50 a gallon. Bread is expensive. I understand all that. But if people put pay and money over the students fail. And they fail big. We should be adults in the room that say, you want to know what? If I make $100,000 a year, I can afford 75 because the student is more important. But no. I want everybody to understand. I'm not here to yell or scream. I just want people to understand that this is painful as a parent. Because I can't help. I can't fix. And I was totally dismissed that day. I got told my meeting's more important. You talk to him, basically get out of here. And I said, hey, you have a meeting? I'll sit here all day. No problem. End of story. Who do I talk to? You're the nearest people I can talk to. And it's frustrating to me. So all I'm asking for is somebody to take into consideration the fact that 2 people for 900 students is not enough. And it's not even to fix the problem. It's not to fix the iPads. It's to say, hey, a teacher can know how to log into the system. Every teacher should know how to log into the system. Every teacher should know how to log into the system. It takes 10 minutes. The guy showed me in 5 minutes how to log into the system, log me out, log back in again. Why can't the teachers learn? Why can't the principals learn? Why can't the office staff know? It's easy. It can be fixed, at least a part of it. Not saying all of it, but a part of it. The second part is saying, hey, if you have a problem, you can go to this website, whatever it is. I understand things are expensive, but you can print off the paperwork in each class. I grew up writing on paper. I didn't grow up with an iPad. I didn't grow up with a calculator. I grew up in a situation where we had to write things down, figure things out. Tablets are great, but when the technology fails, the students fail. And that's all I have to say. I thank you for your time. I just hope it gets addressed. So thank you very much. You all have a good evening, okay? Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your
If you have any
comments.
questions, I have no problem with answering questions.
Thanks for your comments, and we will definitely follow up on the issue.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. You have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, we had community ed scheduled during the workshop, but we are gonna reschedule that at a later date. In the meantime, Darren Hofstad, do you have a high school report?
Sure.
Would you mind moving it up to the workshop?
Fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
You bet. You want to do this now?
Yep.
Okay. Let me make sure. All right. you, Chair Schroeder, Superintendent Gross, School Board. Appreciate you guys having me here tonight. I'm cheating a little bit. As you can see, there's a lot of students here and their advisor wearing orange shirts. And I'm going to bring those up here in just a few minutes. The item that I wanted to talk about tonight with our high school report was really about student participation and student voice. This year in our student activities, we had a real boom in our student participation in our athletics in particular. Our boy team sports, we boasted over 160 participants this fall, and in our girls sports was 140. And that's just in our athletic activities. Our band, our marching band was over 120 participants this fall. And when you add all those numbers up, right there is a third of our student body that are active, they're involved. And one of the things that I am very proud of in our school this year was our boost in our student council. Student council has always been a big part and a big piece of our school and how we kick off the year. That includes homecoming week and spirit week. But there was a different vibe and there was a different energy this year in our student council. A lot of it had to do with our new advisor, Janaea Zenzen, and formerly LaRock, who she used to be a student like Owen and Summer up here and did some of the same things to be able to hear the inside scoop of our district. But her energy and her participation has really been a catalyst to grow the numbers in our student council. And for me, one of the tasks that and one of my goals has always been to get more of our student voice out into the forefront, because really that's where our culture and our climate all begins, is with our students. And we know we have great students, but being able to have them in leadership roles, and you'll hear a lot from them tonight too about kind of the start of what they're using their voices for. So again, I'm kind of cheating with my presentation and I'm kind of passing the baton off tonight to some of our students and to their advisor. But if Janaea wouldn't mind coming up here, we'll kick her off. But we have Faith and Sophie and Jaden and Kira, Molly and Aaron. I don't know if you're all going to come up to the mic tonight, but again, thank you guys for being here. We'll certainly talk about your roles that you guys have in our student council. But again, thank you guys for being here. Janaea, take it away.
Hi. This group right here, they are just a phenomenal group of student leaders. They are not just involved in student council, they are very involved in a number of different activities and clubs and athletics, and they take their schoolwork very, very seriously. So when I had asked students if they wanted to come and present tonight, they jumped at it. I was just so excited. They made room in their schedules to be here. So we are going to be talking about a conference that we attended. Well, we were very actually lucky to host it, and they attended it last week. It all stems around what's called the Jostens framework. Jostens is something we're familiar with: caps, gowns, yearbooks, class ranks, but they also have something called Renaissance. And it's this program, and really it's this framework that really helps to try to build a culture and a climate that makes going to school for everyone more enjoyable. It makes people feel seen and valued. And student council is really using this framework and the resources from Jostens Renaissance to push us through this school year and to really make people feel good when they come into school and we want them to want to come to school. So I'm going to have these student leaders, as they come to the podium, just give their name, their grade, and their student leadership position, and they will be talking about that conference and then a little bit about what we want to do moving forward.
I'm Aaron McMullen. I'm in 9th grade. I'm the freshman class president. And we hosted the Jostens Renaissance Conference last Thursday. We had over 500 students from all across Minnesota attend. Approximately 180 were from Grand Rapids. During the conference, Dr. Phil Carlson, our PC, had a presentation that talked mostly about improving our school's culture and climate. The school's culture is the school's values, norms, and traditions. It's what makes us Thunderhawks. A school's climate is how people feel when they're at school. Culture is a more general term. It's like whereas climate is how it feels now. We did a bunch of different things. We had a dance party. We did a lot of discussing of ideas, and then we had breakouts and then rally time.
I'm Faith Myers. I'm the sophomore class president, and I'm a sophomore. We have, for our post-conference debriefing, we had breakout groups that were led by our students, and we went over how we can further recognize our students and how they can help with our school, what helps, what ideas from the conference stood out. We rallied together and made posters of things that we thought could apply to our school culture, stuff like that. And then the big question of moving forward, what comes next? How do we put this into action? And how do we take role in that? So the first thing that Mr. Carlson, the leader, the speaker, one of the huge goals was improving your school culture. How can you make it so it's not just the same old, you're changing it up, you're adding new things, just a whole revamp. Our norms, our traditions, values, what really makes us Thunderhawks is something that we really wanted to focus on. We had the breakout groups, we all came together. One of the questions was current words to describe our culture. A lot of it was repetitive, bland, dull, uninteresting, and isolated. These were words that people use to describe our school. Words that we desire to be as a school. Connected, community, school spirit, exciting, brighter, inclusive, and diverse. And then it brings it back to the whole thing. How do we put this into action? How do we achieve this? Creating new traditions stemming from our current students is one of the great ways that we came up with.
I'm Jaden Hayweisen. I'm an 11th grader and I'm junior class president.
I'm Kira Dick. I'm an 11th grader and I'm a media editor.
So one of our second goals was improving our climate. We talked about our culture, and our climate is how we feel, how our students feel, how our staff feel, and how our visitors feel walking into the school and how they want to be felt. So we need to recognize not just athletics. We do a great job on showing that on all different social medias. It's in the paper, it's in everything. We also need to recognize our athletics, our clubs, everything like that. Extracurriculars, no one really knows about all the different things at the high school. I don't even know, all the clubs we offer. And that's something that needs to be recognized. So everyone feels more as a whole and more as a part, and that'll help our climate. So we started a new thing this year called Door Knocks, and we went around to different classrooms and rewarded them for things that was out of the norm. We did no tardies or perfect attendance, stuff like that. It was a whole class came together as a whole to achieve this. We also have Student of the Month. We have Academic Excellence Awards, and we also have a birthday board and Thankful Thursday. These are so many things that we need to imply in all of our students, or all in our schools, in not just a high school, but also in other schools going forward.
So that's kind of what we already do to recognize students, but there's some things that we can do to further recognize them. So academically, we can recognize tech programs, display more of college acceptance throughout the school, not just college, military as well. Extracurricular, we want to recognize more clubs. Going back to academic, not just band, also choir and arts, more of school plays and stuff. And then athletic, we want to rejuvenate our send-offs. And then for all students, we want to recognize more things like public or perfect attendance, Thunderhawk Thursday, and then homecoming awards during the Pep Fest, best dress up days and stuff.
Hi, I'm Sophie Kleinfelter. I'm the student body president. And our third goal, I would say this is probably one of our bigger goals. What we all collectively decided is something that we can come together as a student council and as a student body to actually make happen and to add some change to our school. And it was the Thunderhawk revamp project. So this is basically going off of the idea that was just shared and personalizing our school to visually represent all of what Grand Rapids has to offer. So that's the clubs, the athletics, the arts, everything in a more visual way. So I know in our, like you walk in, you see all the trophies from all the sports and you see all the banners from the band, but it's kind of more just showing every part of our school along with making it an engaging place to learn. So that's adding decorations to the walls, maybe, I don't know, there was an idea, it was like painting the bathroom with like a mural, just like little things that make people excited to come to school because our school, it's gray and white and, that's what it looks like. So there's not a lot of windows. It's kind of depressing some days, especially when it's dark, when you get outside. So we just want to add a little bit of color, a little bit of fun to make people more excited to go to the building itself. Just start by getting them there and then go from there. Okay.
I am Molly. I am a senior and I'm the student council secretary. And we were thinking of different examples of ways that we can improve our school. And one example that we thought of would be a school mural. And some benefits of these murals would be kind of creating a more brighter and artistic space for our students to be in, and also just more of an attractive space to be in instead of the gray and the white and the windowless rooms. It would also be a really good opportunity to incorporate our students that are artists and have that kind of appreciation towards them, and also make our school more of a unique place to kind of stand out. And it also gives our artists an opportunity to express themselves and a message that our school wants to enforce. And this is just an example of another school and what they did with their murals and their student artists.
Another idea that I think had a lot of good input from our students was kind of switching up the display cases. So we have, all of our athletic trophies, and we obviously want to keep that. Our sports are very important. I'm an athlete myself. I really value the tradition that comes along with athletics, but there's a lot of awards there from like the 60s and the 70s, and we still, we appreciate those, but they maybe don't need to be front and center right now. So some of the ideas was, keeping that, if you guys know, if you've been to the high school, that's like right by the gym doors. There's also a display case in the front doors, and we could talk about incorporating more artwork there, more photos. We could do some more senior stuff, some FFA awards, marching band, just kind of changing it up a little bit so that when people walk into Grand Rapids High School, they see everything that we're about. Because most people, when they come in, they're not going up to the tech wing, they're not going to the band room, they're just seeing what's right there. So if we can incorporate some of the arts and the other clubs in with the athletics, we think that would be another way to display who we are as a school.
Here? Yes.
So for the display cases, this is an example of one that we have in our school currently that is empty. And then if we go to the next slide, that's an example of another school that did a really good job of having that representation for the activities that they offer. And then again, another example of representing our student artists. So a third idea that we had to kind of brighten up our school and take it from what it is now is to have decorated lockers. So an example of this that we have now is our student council locker. And so the idea is to have lockers that represent the different clubs and arts and athletics and other opportunities that we have in our school in a very intentional and designed way. Of course, not just painting the lockers however we feel, it'd be very intentional.
So really the overall goal here for these students, for the students who really are involved in most of the clubs in our school, but student council specifically, we really just want all of our students to feel seen, feel heard, and feel valued. And so the things that they came up with and the things that in the library, the 180 Grand Rapids High School and RGEM students who attended the conference and then went up to the library, the ideas that they came up with and I just saw the wheels turning. What they wanted to do just was very inspiring to me as a teacher and as a student council advisor, and it makes me really, really excited, especially being an alum of Grand Rapids High School, like seeing what they want to do was really special. And so I'm excited to see what they come up with, but we are very motivated and a lot of these things, don't worry, we're not going to the lockers and throwing paint on them. All these things, of course, are going to have a lot of steps and a lot more future conversations. But we wanted to come here tonight and present these ideas to you guys, just so you can see all the good things that they're doing and how important it is to them and to really so many students at the high school to really see all students, and we want them to feel included. So thank you for your time. Thank you to the leaders, and have a good night.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the board?
Great job, you guys.
Stunning.
Super exciting. All the work you guys are doing, I hear it in the community with other students. So nice job. Nice job.
Appreciate your vision.
Yeah.
Good job, Tania.
They must have a great principal at the high school.
We do.
At this point, we're going to adjourn the work session. We'll come back in a couple minutes at 6:30 for the regular board meeting. It's 6:30. We're going to call the board workshop to order. Please stand for the pledge. Yeah, before we get started, I'd like to introduce and welcome Owen Racine as a student representative to the board. And we're going to give you guys a little chance at the end of the board meeting here to kind of talk about some of the things going on in the high school. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda as amended to the fact that we're moving the community ed presentation to a later date.
So
Moved by Pat, second by David. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. We've already done the principal's report from the high school. The next item on the agenda is to accept the 22-23 audit report. Kara?
Thank you. Tonight you will hear from Jackie Knowles, who is the manager on our audit, our financial audit. Every year we are audited financially by an independent audit firm. Bergen KDV is a very reputable firm. They do, I don't know how many, probably close to 100 different school audits in the state of Minnesota. So they are a great resource for our district that I can call throughout the year and ask for help. They do a deep dive, but really the work happens all throughout the year with what you do, with what Julie does through policy. Casey, everyone in this room, what you do contributes to the results of our audit, not just financially, but policy-wise also. They look specifically at our federal money. We have a ton of COVID money, so they look at that very closely, and all our other financials. So Jackie will give you a summary of the results.
Thanks, Kara. I'm Jackie Knowles from Bergen KDV. I'm going to be going over a summary of the results of our audit and a summary of the operating results for 2023. So the main purpose of our audit is to provide the independent auditor's report. And in this report, we are providing an unmodified opinion on the district's basic financial statements. What that means is based on the results of our test work, we're providing assurance that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects the financial position as of June 30th, 2023, and also all of the activity that occurred during the year. This is sometimes referred to as a clean opinion. It's the best that we are able to offer. And then we also provide some additional communications in addition to the independent auditor's report. The first that we have listed here is the report related to government auditing standards because of some of the state and federal funding that the district receives. We take a closer look at the district's internal controls. And we also look at compliance with laws, grants, contracts, other regulations. We didn't have any compliance findings. We did have 2 internal control findings this year. One of them is a repeat finding, the lack of segregation of accounting duties, primarily due to the business manager having full access to the general ledger in order to complete job duties. And then the second one is the bank reconciliations did have differences with tying out to cash according to the general ledger. Those differences have been occurring since January of 2023 when the switch was made from Smart to Skyward accounting software. And so the district is well aware of this and is working on it. The district has stated this will be resolved by January 15th of 2024. So that 1-year mark from when that conversion was completed. In addition, also report on the results of a single audit performed in accordance with the uniform guidance. So this year we did audit 3 federal programs, the Minnesota COVID testing program, the education stabilization funds, and then also Title I. And we are offering an unmodified opinion on compliance for all three of those programs and no internal control findings for any of those programs either. And then the last report is the report on the results of our testing for Minnesota legal compliance. So looking through the checklist provided by the Office of the State Auditor, looking for compliance with certain statutes applicable to Minnesota school districts, and we did not have any findings. There is some additional information provided in our communication letter. We provide some financial analysis. We also discuss new emerging issues, new standards that are coming down the pike, new changes from MDE. That's all in the communication letter, but with that, we'll move on to looking at some of the financial analysis. So this first slide for financial analysis takes a look at the basic formula allowance, the basic aid coming in per student served. And you can see districts have been receiving about a 2% increase over the last 10 years or so. That percentage increase was 2% for 2023. And we'll see how that impacts revenues in a couple of slides here. But of course, the other main contributing factor is going to be the district's student counts. So on this next slide, we have a look at resident ADM in green, and then we compare that to the adjusted ADM. So resident is going to be public school students residing in the district regardless of where they're attending. And then we see the higher adjusted ADM figures each year because of the effects of open enrollment. And so resident ADM was down about 0.5% from 2022 to 2023. And we see a similar picture for ADM served, down about 0.4% from 2022 to 2023. And ADM served was down just 1.4% since 2019 and has been rebounding since its lowest point in 2021 over the last 5 years. And then this next slide takes the ADM, adjusted ADM, and converts it to pupil unit numbers, which is what Gen Ed aid is paid based off of the PUN. So it applies the state's weighting factors, which have not changed over the last 5 years. Everyone is weighted at 1.0 besides the secondary students are at 1.2. And so we do see a similar picture here as the previous slide, down overall since 2019, but rebounding since that lowest point of the last 5 years in 2021. So the revenue impact of those previous slides could be seen here when we look at the general fund revenue. In total, revenue was up about 1.65 million in 2023 from the previous year. Revenue from the state was up 1.3 million. And there was an increase in general education aid with that increase in the basic formula allowance. There was also an increase in literacy incentive aid and an increase in special education aid due to the ADSIS program starting in 2022. And so fiscal 2023 was the first year to collect that related aid. And then local property tax revenue was up about $450,000, and that was primarily due to a levy adjustment for long-term facilities maintenance. And then on the next slide, we look at the allocation of the district's revenue. And so this is a similar allocation to the prior year, the largest source of revenue being the revenue coming from the state, followed by local property taxes and federal sources. And I'm sure we'll see this kind of shift as that pandemic money winds down over the next couple of years. And then the next slide is a nice summarized view of where the general fund has been for the last 5 years. We see that revenue increase, as previously discussed. For 2023, expenditures were down about 1.3% from the prior year, and that was due to eliminating positions, postponing annual technology purchases, and the purchase of just one bus in 2023 due to budget cuts. So after several years, the fund balance decreases. Fund balance did increase about $1.8 million in total as a result of 2023 activity. And that increase was almost all within the unassigned category of fund balance. So what's available for spending on any purpose. So as of June 30th, that unassigned fund balance was almost $2.6 million. And that amount represents about 4.5% of expenditures based on what the district spent in 2023. And the district's policy does call for a minimum unassigned fund balance of 10 to 15% of the annual budget. So the district did make some improvements towards reaching that goal, but still about half of what it should be to reach that very minimum outlined in policy. And then this next slide is another way of looking at fund balance. This is a calculation that comes right from MDE. It's unrestricted fund balance as a percentage of unrestricted expenditures. So your unrestricted fund balance is going to include the assigned and non-spendable fund balance categories. And then the unrestricted expenditures is going to exclude expenditures closing to those restricted fund balance categories. For instance, operating capital, basic skills, LTFM, et cetera. That's not going to be included in the denominator in this calculation. So that's why we see a different percentage than the 4.5% I mentioned on the previous slide. So a nice increase in this percentage from 2022 to 2023, but still quite a bit below the statewide averages. And then we'll look at budget to actual results for the general fund next. So looking at that final variance column, you can see that revenues came in under budget. It's about a 1% variance. And that was really driven by revenue from federal sources being under budget, with less spending of ESSER monies than what was anticipated with the budget. And then taxes did partially offset that with that large LTFM adjustment, and then also just a conservative budget for that funding, for that money. On the expenditure side, expenditures were under budget about 3.7% in total. And the largest variances were within regular and special education instruction. Regular instruction was under budget due to a conservative budget for salaries and benefits, and special education instruction was under budget for a similar reason, just a conservative budget, but also the district anticipated that more education support professionals would enroll in the family health insurance. Then we'll move on to some comparative information. So first up, we have revenues per student served. And the district's revenue per ADM served has historically been below the statewide average and the average for similar sized districts. And that has really been in the property tax revenue category, with the average state operating referendum per student being higher. And then on the next slide, the expenditures per ADM served is a similar picture with fewer revenues coming in. The spending per ADM served is also below that for similar sized districts for most years in the general fund. Then we have a pie chart that shows the district's spending allocation for the general fund for 2023. And I'll point out that the three instruction categories, special education, vocational, and regular, add up to 68% of spending, and that is from 66% in the prior year. And that also does exceed the statewide average of 60.1% for 2022, which is the most recently available information. And we'll move on to the food service fund. And revenues were down about $200,000 this year. This fund has seen quite a bit of changes over the last few years, just with the changes in that federal child nutrition program. So in 2023, we saw the end of the federal funding for all meals and the higher reimbursement rates. And so revenues did come down. Expenditures were up about $214,000 just with inflation causing higher food and delivery costs. And those changes that we're seeing at all districts, a large decrease in revenue, a large increase in expenditures. But I do want to point out that fund balance still did increase about $1,000 in 2023. And that is somewhat unusual. A lot of districts are did end up spending down fund balance in 2023 because of those changes. So good to see positive operating results still in this fund. And then in the community service fund, revenues were up in 2023 about $83,000 with increased participation across programs. Expenditures were down about $26,000 with a decrease across salaries and benefits. And fund balance was up about $157,000 as a result of 2023 activity. And then I do want to point out that in the bottom portion of this table, all of the fund balance components were positive at the end of the year. So positive operating results across all of the main programs of this fund, which is good to see. And then my last graph takes a look at the health insurance internal service fund. And in 2019 through 2021, operating expenses did exceed operating revenues. And so the net position of this fund was being spent down in those years. And then in 2022 and 2023, a shift was made and health premiums were reevaluated so that operating revenues did exceed operating expenses in the last couple of years. And so this fund has been in a more sustainable position. And that concludes what I had prepared. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chair,
Pat?
I don't know if it's a Kara question or a Jackie question, and I certainly don't want to assume. Just looking at the slides, it says the Grand Rapids schools. I'm assuming this is also Big Fork schools as well?
Yeah, this is all of ISD 318.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the board? Thank you, Kara and Jackie. At this point, I'm looking for a motion to accept the 2022-2023 audit report.
So moved.
Moved by Ben,
Second.
second by Pat. Discussion.
I was wondering, do you know about the general accepted accounting principles? Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, and maybe it's Matt, maybe it's Kara, just in regards to the fund balance in relation to our policy, and Jackie commented on it. Maybe you want to comment on where we're at or not?
Yeah, I think the comment from Jackie, we're still less than half of what our policy articulates that we should be at. And, we're still in this place where we have one-time money with COVID that's helping to support the budget, including that fund balance, whether directly or indirectly. So that's not something that's going to go on forever. We have to spend the remainder of our COVID funds by September of 2024, I believe. And so, and then along with that, the capital investment that the state made in Big Fork also was a significant factor in our fund balance. So, yeah, they both played a role.
Yeah, they did. And we, because I didn't draw all our federal money and why our revenue budget was off by less than 1%, it does mean we have more COVID money to spend this year. And from July 1st through September 2024, lessen those cuts we have to make for fiscal year 25. So that's good. This because our fund balance, you budgeted, you insisted, and I appreciate that we had a balanced budget. I'm never going to have a budget turn out worse than budgeted. So it's never going to be less than zero. So this surplus, this small increase in our fund balance just means that we're, our floor down here is just a little bit higher. We're not where we're supposed to be. We're not where we want to be. We're just able to breathe a little bit easier. At what Jackie said, 2.5 million are unrestricted. Our payroll, our bi-monthly payroll is $1.7 million. So 2.5 million is a drop in the bucket. So having these audit results allows us to breathe a little bit easier. We are in no way out of the woods.
I appreciate those comments because we look at our fund balance like, oh gee, wow, things are good. But the reality is we're still in this financial situation that we've been working on for the last, going on 5 years now. Gonna be
least
going on
5
5
years,
years. So thank you. We appreciate that.
I just have a question.
Go ahead.
And maybe this is for you, Jackie, because I think you mentioned it on one of the slides, do we know what the statewide averages of a school our size for revenue per pupil versus what we have? I know you mentioned something like we were less than, and I know we don't have an operating levy, but I'm just wondering what an average revenue amount would be for a school of similar size.
Yeah, so on slide number 12 is probably going to be the most useful information addressing that question. So you can see for 2022, that's the most recently available information. A district with 3,000 to 5,000 ADM served brought in $14,853 in the general fund per student served, while Grand Rapids was at $14,363 back in 2022.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Can I expand on that one, Mr. Chair? Why would that be? Jackie, why would that be?
The
Why would
revenue?
Why would the difference be that, what is it, about $500, a little over $500 difference?
Yep, so a lot of it is operating referendum. So the average district in that ADM range is going to have a much higher operating referendum, especially when you look at some of those metro districts. They have quite significant operating referendum money coming in per student served. And then some of the other fluctuations too, you're a little bit lower in revenues from the state, revenues from the federal government. Some of that can do with your free and reduced lunch population. So there's some other factors going on too. Your other local sources is much higher because of the taconite monies coming in. So a few different things that explain the change, but a lot of that, or the variance, I should say, but the property taxes is the big one with the operating referendum.
Thank you.
I think, Mr. Chair and members of the board, this is part of the message that we've been talking about for over a year, just the fact that as a district, we receive less revenue than the average school district in the state. And that's part of the reason why we're in the position that we're in.
Other comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to accept the audit report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The audit report is accepted. Next item on the agenda is district facility update. Sean Lewis.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to join you. And I'm going to share my screen here. There we go. I'm going to do. Bear with me just one moment. Make sure I get the right one for you. I think it's that one. There we go. You see my PowerPoint okay? Looks like
Yes.
I can. Okay, super. Yes, again, Sean Lewis with ICS Consulting. I have a really short and sweet update of where we're at with the Big Fork School Project, Grand Rapids High School HVAC Project, and Southwest, which is going to be a different title in the near, not so distant future. On schedule, within budget, as always, and we'll start with Big Fork. We had a successful ribbon cutting ceremony on the 30th of October. That was a lot of fun, great turnout as well. Working through a few punch list items. We're down about 4 punch list items. And commissioning the one air handling unit that was replaced. And I added a few pictures from the ribbon cutting ceremony. That'd be fun to share. representative. And ribbons being cut going into the new addition. New athletic space. Turned out really, really great. It's really exciting to see that come together. Like I said, great turnout from the ribbon cutting ceremony. Everybody was real excited. Community members there were shared a lot of appreciation for the new addition of the fitness center there and locker room renovation as well. We also did the new media center renovation, maker space and multi-use space as well. And this is one picture of the new media center coming together. These two windows were added to the exterior, which added a lot of natural light coming into the space. So that space turned out real nice. Moving to the high school. High school is going to be pretty quiet for the winter. We're on schedule within budget right now. Spaces for phase 1 are all finished, with the exception of a couple of minor punch list items, literally down to 2, I think, right now. Some labeling of things and, minor things like that. Working into commissioning of the new air handling units that were replaced. And like I said, it'll be pretty quiet there for the next few months in the winter. And then we'll be gearing up and getting ready for phase 2 in March, April, May. Hopefully start phase 2 and maybe in some of the mechanical rooms in the month of May of 2024. And then phase 2 will be next summer. Southwest, this one's also winding down real well. On schedule within budget. Punch list is 99% complete there. Finishing up a few small items in the north wing this week. Should really have that wrapped up for the most part. And administration is starting to move in there as well. ALC's already been operating there for the school year, starting the fall. And administration's moving into there. And it sounds like the next board meeting might be over in room 183 here at the new building. So it'll be fun to see that too. Some next steps, steering committees. We are meeting monthly together with the facility steering committees to keep track of things. It'll be pretty quiet over the winter. Like I mentioned, Big Fork School commissioning and new concessions also. This is a little minor project. We piggybacked on the bigger project there. And we've got punch list and closeout at Southwest, phase 1 commissioning and punch list, wrap those up at the high school and prepare for phase 2 over the course of the winter. And then next spring and summer of 2024, we'll be working on phase 2 at the high school. So really short and sweet today. I'm happy to say the work we had scheduled for the summer went real well, on schedule, on budget. And we're in a really good position for the high school. I will mention too, I think I mentioned this previously, but I'll say again on the high school, we positioned ourselves to do real well in this phase 2 next summer as well. We got basically got as much work done this year that we could to help streamline work next summer, including equipment, for example. If you remember back when we first started that project, we had concerns about equipment procurement, taking a long time, 40 weeks to get things, instances like that we've seen. We have all the equipment actually here in Grand Rapids, including some rooftop equipment scheduled for phase 2 for next year. We've already had that up and installed on the roof too. So we're doing everything we can to get out ahead of phase 2 and make sure that work is as smooth as possible. Happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions from the board? Thank you, Sean.
Appreciate
My pleasure. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the October 23rd, 23 regular school board meeting. I'm looking for a motion. Moved by Mindy.
Second.
Second by Pat. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is to approve October 2023 claims in the amount of $7,040,334.72. Looking for a motion.
I'll move.
Moved by Ben.
Second, David.
Second by David. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Claims are approved. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Casey.
Thank you. Good evening, board. Tonight we have Sheila Semensky, ESP resignation, Benny Gibbons, computer technician retirement. Benny has served the district for 5 years. Isaiah Keating, bus driver replacement hire. Robert Key, custodian resignation. Patrick Myers, Big Fork High School head basketball coach replacement hire. Stefan Patter, head basketball coach rescind hire. Polly Podpesker, food service director replacement hire. And Samantha Thonis, custodian replacement hire. I'm recommending approval of the consent agenda.
Looking for a motion. Moved by Pat, second.
Second, David.
David. There's no discussion on the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is to approve permission to post Indian Education Cultural Experiential Learning Advocate. Casey.
Thank you. The Indian Education Program is requesting permission to post this new cultural experiential learning advocate. We currently have 1 cultural advocate, and then we have 4 student advocates, along with a coordinator and that part-time director. Their caseload is about at 400 students, so they're sitting around 75 students per advocate. The new position will work out of the middle school site, but we'll do some district-wide work as well. They'll be focused on some hands-on experiential learning, and then also the planning and preparation of the new cultural learning site at the middle school. We have not, in the last number of years, spent all of our federal and state Indian education funds, so this position will be supported through those funds and will not be impacted by the general fund. I'm recommending approval of the posting the new cultural experiential learning advocate position.
So moved, David.
Moved by David,
Second.
second by Melissa. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Permission's approved to post the position. Next item on the agenda is to approve the resolution certifying the results of the November 7th, 2023 special election. And just to note that the election canvassing board, which included board members Pat Maduri and Ben Hawkins, met prior to this meeting to canvass the results of the special election. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the canvassing of the election.
So,
Moved by Mindy, second by Ben.
Yep.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution certifying the results is approved. Next item on the agenda is to approve the district operational plan. Superintendent Gross.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, this is something we've been working on for quite some time. It's been in front of you for review and discussion. It comes as a result of a significant amount of input and feedback, both from external and internal staff and stakeholders. And I think is already helping to provide some direction for some of our work. So I'm recommending approval.
Motion to approve the plan.
So moved.
Moved by Melissa, second.
Support, David.
David. Discussion.
One other thing that I'd add, Mr. Chair, the challenges that we're facing financially are certainly going to make the pace of change and that kind of thing difficult as it relates to the goals and objectives in the plan, but we'll get there.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The district operational plan is approved. The next item on the agenda, approved change to the official posting site for the ISD 3 school board meeting. Superintendent Gross.
Yeah, with the move that's currently underway here out of the admin building to the Educational Services Center, formerly Southwest Elementary, we need to change the posting site. And so I'm recommending along with Julie the designation of the bulletin board in that building as the new posting site.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Mindy, second by Melissa. Discussion?
Do we have a sense where in the new building it will be posted?
Julie, do
At the entrance, the public entrance.
Okay.
We're measuring up the wall space there today. We have other bulletin boards with legal postings that need to go into those. So they will be right at the main entrance for the public to view at any time when they come in.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The change to the posting site is approved. Next item on the agenda is a standard yearly thing where we designate Superintendent Gross as the local education agency representative. Motion to approve the designation.
So moved, David.
Moved by David,
Support.
second by Ben. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Superintendent Gross has been designated the LEA representative. Next item on the agenda is to accept the first reading of policy 202, student representative on the school board. Superintendent Gross.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Policy 202.1 is the student representative on the school board. This is the first reading, so no action tonight. This is, we're continuing to grow and we welcome Bowman. Some changes made to the policy, just, as we learned more about how to go about this and so some changes were made about student enrollment and also just the guidelines piece around and accountability. And really just aligning it too with what you as elected board members are accountable to. So you can see that in the draft policy, our policy review committee has reviewed this, but it'll be back in front of you pending any other changes at the next board meeting.
Next item is to accept the first reading of the policy 606 crisis management.
There were some changes made this last legislative session relative to how active shooter drills are conducted. We don't do those in ISD 318. So there were some changes that were kind of driven legislatively. You can see those in the policy itself. And again, the policy review committee has reviewed this. It'll come back to you for approval at the next meeting.
Thank you. Next item is to accept the first reading and approve the following policies in one reading. Superintendent Gross.
As we've historically done and is provided by policy, the board has the ability to approve policy changes in one meeting that are a reflection of legislative changes. And policy 413, harassment and violence, policy 416, and policy 507 all fall under that category. The updates are reflective of new laws and other legal requirements. So I'm recommending approval of these policy changes.
Looking for a motion to approve the policy changes.
So moved, David.
Moved by David, second.
Second.
Second by Pat. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is to approve the 2024 membership in the Range Area Association of Municipalities and Schools. Superintendent Gross.
This is a membership that this board has approved for many years. It's an organization that does work on behalf of range area schools and townships and cities. And the dues had been pretty consistent over many years. There's a slight increase for this year to $2,100 for the year. I'd recommend approval.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Pat, second.
Second.
Ben. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Gross commented about the increase in dues. There hasn't been an increase in dues for 21 years, actually 21 and a half years at Rams. So as a board member on Rams, we've been looking at this for the last 2 years. And our new executive director put a plan in place to increase them across the board, the membership. So 21 years is a long time, and you sit down and compare it to the other organizations that we belong to, we've seen an increase annually on the other organizations. So we're pretty frugal there, and we manage our money well, and I think we get a good bang for our buck.
Any further discussion?
I would just say Rams not only supports our schools, but they actually support our businesses as well, and provide letters of support for additional funding and sources for local businesses and businesses looking to locate here. So this is bigger than the schools. It goes economically into the businesses as well.
Thank you.
I would support Melissa and Pat's statements. This is good bang for a buck.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is to approve the lease agreement with Invest Early for space in the ISD 318 Educational Services Center. Superintendent Gross.
If you look at items B and C, they are two leases, one with IASC, one with Invest Early. They, ISD 318 is serving in kind of a dual role where we not only are owning the buildings that we're leasing the space to the organizations, and we're also partners with these two organizations. And so a lease was put together that incorporates or reflects the fact that we're membership. We have membership in those or partnership agreements with those entities. And so this will be the first year of the lease and gets us through this next summer, and then it'll renew annually unless either party requests a modification. I'd recommend approval of both.
Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Melissa, second.
Second.
Second by Mindy. Any further discussion?
Is that for both? Melissa?
Yeah, I was making a motion for both.
Thank you.
Second also. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is board reports, and let's give our student representatives a chance to go first. Owen and Summer.
Okay, so I was gonna say I went to the leadership conference that the student council was talking about, and it was amazing. It was so fun. It was great, and I don't know. Yeah, I just had to say that. But our fall Murder at the Renaissance play was a hit too, and we had 11 students made up the cast. And Key Club is hard at work. They are volunteering a lot and are organizing the next blood drive on November 30th. And Host Week was a success as well. They did a lot of Halloween stuff. And then FFA won various awards at nationals.
For the sports, the volleyball team went to state and won consolation champions. Multiple individuals from our girls swim and dive team qualified for state. Winter sports have officially begun as of this week. And 2 of our cross-country runners also qualified for state, and they did both very well. And yeah, that's it.
Thanks for the great report, Owen and Summer.
Thank you.
Looking for other board reports. Pat, why don't we keep going down the line?
Sure. Just want to do a shout out to the middle school. Attended the Veterans Day program there. Dan's staff did a phenomenal job, the choir and the band, and always a great moving experience there. And a lot of veterans were there, so thank you to them. I had a Rams meeting last month, and we're starting to set our legislative agenda, which will be coming forward here next week for approval by the board, and we'll pass it on to our board members here so you know where we're at. Attended Big Fork Open House, which was touched on, and I got to say the community was pretty impressed, as well as I think the other fellow board members that were there. It's a nice addition to Big Fork and the Big Fork community, and really appreciate that partnership to make that project happen. And lastly, I just want to take the time to thank Matt, Julie, and Kara. You know, our referendum didn't turn out the way we wanted it to turn out, but the work that these three put into this is just unbelievable. You know, many nights away from home, family, and the work that went into it. So I want to thank all three of you for that. And again, tough loss, but upward and forward and upward, as I guess they say. So, but thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Mindy?
I attended a RIFE board retreat, and they've been doing some strategic planning to look to the future for where they want to go and what they want to do. So that was pretty exciting to do with the board. They also have some great Christmas shows coming up, and the Nutcracker is the 8th, 9th, 10th weekend. So if anyone wants to experience the Nutcracker Ballet, they should go. We also attended the conference, the MREA conference this past week, and I attended a portion of it, which was great. We had the keynote speaker was Talia Palmer from the Blandon Foundation, so someone from back here.
Thank you, David.
Yes, as noted, several of us attended the MREA conference, which was enlightening and informative, and gave us some information about what our next steps as a school district might be. Looking forward to that. Spent some time also with the Boys and Girls Club. They had a hearing session, listening session for the Grand Rapids Club and for the Greenway Club. Some serious issues going on, some serious employment issues. There's just not enough people that are coming forward to fill the positions that are open. The need is very definitely there in both Grand Rapids and in Greenway. We simply don't have enough facilitators and leaders to make that possible. And also, the organization is facing some very severe concerns about where the club can exist as it moves forward in both locations. And it's the group is working its way through these situations. It's challenging because it's very much, we know that it's a highly valued and highly required resource in our community, but how we make that possible within the community is still being sorted out.
Thank you, David. Ben?
Nothing to report.
Nothing from Ben. Melissa?
Some of what we've been working on with IASC was reported. We're still working on leases and investorly, not just in 318, but across all the IASC districts, and what we can staff and what we can't staff. I think that's a theme.
Yep.
And so there have been changes that have been made that are impacting families just based on the fact that we can't find folks to do Fridays and other things in different districts. So pretty impactful. So we talk a lot about that in IASC, and Jackie and Darla work really, really hard to make this wheels turn. That's the best way I can think to put it. I too attended MREA, and I would just say probably one of the biggest public policy works ahead that we in rural have, not even just because we can't do it alone, we have to do it ourselves, we can't do it alone, is really about rural funding. Mm-hmm. And the fact that, and Talia laid it out, they have a huge data arm at the Blandon Foundation, and laid out the inequity of funding in rural across the state. This isn't just here, it's across the state. And our tax bases are more sparse than those in the metro area. And so the same amount of money is going to cost rural taxpayers a lot more than it costs the Twin Cities taxpayers. And so the formula itself is inequitable. It's equal, but it's inequitable. And so I think there's a legislative priority there that we can get behind. And I know Representative Igo touched on it in one of his articles as well. He started to name it. And I think naming it is going to be the biggest issue for us, because our kids are not worth less because they live here. and they shouldn't get less because they live here and this is public education, so the state should step up. So that's all I have to say. Other than that, I went to data. I went to lots of data sessions. That's what I did. So yeah. If we
Thanks,
can get both,
Melissa.
it'd be good to share.
I also attended MREA, and there was a lot of really good legislative update there in addition to what I've heard so far. There are just a tremendous number of legislative issues up, and that will be up. And some of them, especially the ones that impact funding, will impact us. There was also a lot of good discussion about developing rural leadership. And I think we know that that's something we need to be involved with, for the sake of our students in the community. I really enjoyed the Big Fork ribbon cutting. That was a lot of fun, and it's just kind of fun to see a project like that come together. The last thing I have, our Minnesota State School Board All-State Committee has selected Pat Maduri as one of the 6 All-State honorees for 2024. Congrats, Pat.
Hey,
Oh, thank you. Surprised to me, but thank you.
hey, congratulations.
Your selection will be celebrated at the Winter MSBA Conference, so hopefully you can all be there to see you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is superintendent's report.
Great honor, Pat, and certainly well deserved. I want to recognize Kara and her team. The audit tonight is a lot of work. It puts a lot of pressure on the business office, and during a time when we're moving, during a time when we're doing referendum work. And so thank you for all of your work on that. I just want to thank Julie too for all of her coordinating on this move. You see pallets and boxes, and it didn't just fall together, and a lot of questions get directed her way again while she's serving as our district election lead and all kinds of other things. So thank you, Julie. We're almost there. Furniture's getting taken out and put together over at Southwest, and so by the end of the week, I think we're hoping to really have most people be able to work over there for good. Just to clarify for those listening, that project again wasn't funded by money that could be used on people. That money wasn't available to fix a budget problem. It was money that was part of our 2018 referendum. So that's what was paying for the things that Sean was talking about tonight. That's what was paying for those renovations and ultimately going to save us money as we have leases, as we eliminate this building, things like that. So just wanted to clarify that as a community question, provide some facts there. I'll be stepping into a role at Rams. Our superintendents have some nominees there too, so I'll be joining Pat in the Rams kind of board as a superintendent designee, and so looking forward to getting involved with that work. Also going to be bringing forward to the board some conversations that I've had with the Big Fork community about engagement with our board, with our district, and getting their voice heard around maybe looking at an advisory committee model. And so you'll hear more about that soon, but I think there's a good opportunity there to strengthen that voice. Last, obviously it's been mentioned, but the referendum, obviously not the results we wanted. I think there's a clear message about taxes from our community and what they'll tolerate and what they won't. And we'll definitely need to regroup. That message doesn't mean the needs go away. The needs are still here. And it also doesn't change what we're going to need to do as a school district. I think we were very clear moving through that we have to be able to balance our budget. That's going to require some budget cuts. And so right now we're in the process of planning what that next round of reductions will look like, how much it will be, building on the information that has been shared already with the board and the community, and establishing that timeline. So we'll have to continue to do our work. I think we'll continue to talk about facts and the truth, and then follow up with what we say we're going to do and demonstrate the integrity and responsibility we have to our budget. So more to come on that here in the next month or so. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Reminder that upcoming school board committee and meeting dates are posted on each agenda. School board meeting agendas can be found on the district website and on the designated posting site, which is now going to be the new educational administration building and the services building in the old Southwest School building. Quite a few meetings coming up, and be sure to check the locations. A lot of meetings that have been previously held in this building will be held in the new building. Is there any other business to come before the board? Julie, has anyone signed up for public input?
They haven't, I checked with others in attendance. Even the free sheet, I do have to pick it up, so, but I checked with them and no others.
Hearing none, meeting's adjourned.